Good evening and welcome to episode 82 of the Green Arrow, an FPL podcast by fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, midway through a crazy week or two of continuous Premier League action. My name is Fergi and a big welcome to my co-host Adam Hopcroft. Adam, what colour was your arrow in game week 13?
It was another green arrow.
You're
So I think that's
on
back
fire.
to back green arrows. Yeah, well, yeah, going okay. So the transfers that I made, I took out the injured Chilwell and brought in James, and then I took a hit to bring in Jota for Havertz. So just the Jota to Havertz move, even for a hit, has paid off, and couldn't have worked out any better with Havertz getting 0 minutes. So yeah, overall, I got 62 points -4. I went up about 5 or 6k, I think, as well. So that was
Nice.
a little bit surprising, really. But so just quickly to run through my team, I had Sanchez in goal. You know, he's a save machine now. He's changed. What was that?
He made a couple of really good saves, to be fair, the weekend.
He did. It does help when you got Tyler Roberts shooting at you. You know, that must be. It's like, if he's going to get it on target, that's points for fun. So, yeah. Then I had Trent, Reece James, Rudiger, who I thought was a little bit unlucky. He had that chance at the end, thundered one against the bar, but he's very involved. And as we were just saying off air, I think he seems like he's got a lot more threat about him. And plus the nowdness, I think he's definitely one to be considering for Chelsea over the Christmas period. And then Cancelo, who I think most people own, but it was a little bit unlucky the way that it turned at the end, losing a clean sheet, and he was on for a couple of bonus as well.
Yeah, I never mind when a player like him blanks.
Same.
Because like, not only for my own team that week, but it means that other people who haven't got him may be slightly put off. And some people who have got him may think of moving him on. I think it kind of happens when obviously with players like Cancelo, Trent, you just leave him in your team, and
it has such, given the ownership, it has such a small impact on your rank anyway.
He was 95. He had 95% EO, and Trent did in something like the top 100k or something like that. It's absolutely crazy, but it's just a game in it at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And then midfield, Salah captain. For a nice 12 for say a nice 12 point, fine, take that. Jota with 14. I then had Rafinha, who I didn't really think did much, but he'll get the next couple of fixtures for me. Gallagher, who, you know what, I'm happy with him blanket against Villa. Again, he didn't look as involved, but I think he has. The thing with Gallagher, I've noticed, having owned him for since game week 5, he has these spells, and I think you can just trust him over the long term to tick over. And at 5.5,
I've noticed as well the difference with Gallagher and Rafinha is, even looking at Gallagher. So even though they lost and even though he wasn't fantastic, he's still very, very advanced high up the pitch, which is quite different from Rafinha. I think I didn't see Rafinha.
Yeah, I think it was an off game for Rafinha, if I'm being honest. I remember when I was looking back at our predictions from last week, and I think one of the comments made is that Potter seems to have Bielsa's number, or he just sets up to nullify them well. And the amount that Brighton created, and they really, I mean, I know Sanchez made a few saves, but they really nullified Leeds and got the better of them. So I think he went with a bit of a weird setup, like a 4-4-1-1, and almost played Moda as a number 10, which, and Lamptey as a right winger. So it's a little bit different setup wise there. And then I had Tony up front, and then coming in for Kane, I had a bit of a hero moment. I had Livramento on my bench, who was going to give me a 0-pointer, and Damari Gray somehow, after that injury, he makes it to the bench. And do you know what? I was taking the 1 point, because that's probably the difference of maybe 1,000 places. I like, just even if he comes on, I'll take that. And he comes into my team and improves on Livramento's 0-pointer. So, all in all, fairly content. I think if I hadn't have bought Jota in, we'd have been having a very, very different discussion. But team's in good shape at the moment, so not too. I think a lot of, it's fairly template. I think a lot of people have got in the top 10k have got similar setups. What colour was your arrow this week, Fergie?
I had a green as well, so I had a green up from 229k to 187. It's not massive, but I got 60 points without a hit. Obviously disappointed in that because I didn't have Son or Foden, who I would have liked to think would maybe have got some points, but Sanchez in goal, same as you, same back four. I had Livramento off my bench, sadly. Jota and Bomo blanked again, and like he gets into good positions. I'm starting to think he just can't finish. I say I'm starting to think I'm probably about a month or two behind everyone else in that thinking, but he had a couple of semi-decent opportunities. He just couldn't get, he could get on the end of one, and the one he shot straight at the keeper, and it's so frustrating. But the fixtures are still good. Salah captain, Antonio blanked, obviously quite disappointed. And Tony with his 9 points. I did have a bit of a ding dong with someone on Twitter this afternoon around this whole non-pen XG thing, which I go on about because Ivan Toney had a non-pen XG of 0 on the weekend. But he still got 9 points. So anyway, yes, a little bit of a ding dong.
I saw that,
yeah. And then obviously Son and Foden didn't play, which is disappointing. But kind of looking at my team, pretty happy, like all in all. I think going into next
just whilst we're on Brentford, I think SofaScore had a bit of a you moment. When you confused Rico Henry with
with Tony.
With Tony, I was doing the shopping. I checked the scores at half time. And I saw the Brentford score 1-0 Tony Penn, and it said that Mbeumo had won the penalty.
Oh, so did it really?
Yeah. So you'd have been, you'd have been it'd have been even worse if you'd have had that experience. Because I was expecting, that's not great for me. And hang on, actually, it's good for my Sky team. He's done nothing there. So, but so we had one of those moments, but they got it completely wrong. So.
Nightmare. Anyway, yeah, we'll have a chat in a bit around what we're looking to do over next week and the week after, because we've got a couple of sections on those. For any new watchers and listeners, you are very, very welcome. And for everyone, actually, I always welcome new watching listeners, but obviously our existing loyal fan base.
Forget the current ones.
And our follower base are just, they're absolutely exceptional. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, please press the subscribe button at the bottom right corner of the screen, set the alerts, you don't miss our live streams, which are usually at 7 p.m. GMT every Tuesday on this channel. Obviously, because there's a midweek game week this week, we are a day early on Monday, and we are going to try and preview game week 14 and 15 together. Adam's very, very busy at work, so we're probably not going to be able to do another one before the game week 15 deadline. So we're going to try and bunch them into one, and we haven't had a lot of time to prepare. So a lot of this evening is probably going to be a lot of ad libbing, obviously, because we're working off our wits with a few hours notice since the last game week. If you enjoy our content, as always, please press the like button. It really does help, and it would be much, much appreciated. As we are live, please feel free to join the chat at any time. Let us know your thoughts on the topics or the relevant sections, and feel free to ask some questions throughout. Good evening, Luke Byrne, James Beacock, Jan, Bert Van Pedigum, I think I got that right again, Bert, David Tilston, Alan H, Buckers, Harry, FPL Tips, who has just FPL Harry changed his name. He was just on before us. If you haven't caught his Monday night streams, make sure you do. They're absolutely superb. Josh Davis, Rommel, Robbie, Son of Sam, Guy Parfitt, Liam, absolutely packed lobby as usual. Matthew Price says, "Hey Fergie, you got a green arrow at last." It hasn't been that long, Matthew. Flip the neck. I did have one last week as well. Easy now.
Love it.
Indeed. So this week we're going to largely concentrate on navigating through the two upcoming game weeks 14 and 15, which will be both played out within the next 7 days. We'll take a look at the players we think we should be monitoring, as well as giving our take on the hot topics that people want answers to, including what to do with Foden. Should we be rushing to get Alonso? Should we be looking at Spurs players for these next two quite stunning attacking fixtures in Brentford and Norwich? And what do we make of Man United's performance on the weekend? What impact did it have on our FPL thinking? We will answer a few Twitter questions before looking at the Game Week 14 expected match results. We will have a look at the best camp shots for both Game Week 14 and Game Week 15. As the results could potentially sway our transfer thinking, we'll hold our weekly competition and finally take a look at the top of the FFH Green Arrow Mini League. Don't forget, all the data we show and much, much more is available for you to use yourself. At fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, you can join using the top link below for a 7-day free trial. Couple of questions in the chat just around Foden and Gundogan, Kane, and this. We will get to all these points. We promise. This is what this evening's podcast and stream is going to be all about. Looking forward to the next couple of game weeks. So firstly, Adam, on screen, we have the next 5 game weeks worth of fixtures, which is going to be crammed into the next 20 calendar days. That sounds absolutely mental.
Is that it? Wow.
5 game weeks in 20 days. And that is from start to that is from right from the start to right to the end.
It does feel that you go from like the third way. So we're about a third way through the season now to the halfway point very quickly.
We do indeed.
It's going to accelerate, isn't it? Looking forward to it.
At the end of the 19th of December, I believe we will be finishing game week 18. And bear in mind, we've just finished game week 13, so it's absolutely mental. So just, looking at these fixtures, a couple of things which stand out to me. City's fixtures, from both a defending view and attacking view, very, very enticing, both in the short and the medium term. And United's, as we know, improved markedly. They have got Arsenal this week, but after that, Palace, Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, and they go on this massive extended run, as we know. We'll talk about United. Spurs, Leeds and Newcastle's games all turn after game week 15. So after this next 2 game weeks. And they actually coincide quite nicely, dovetail nicely with very, very good fixtures. As United, we've already mentioned, but also Watford. I'm very interested in some Watford players. They're scoring a lot of goals and they look very, very dangerous moving forward. In terms of, if you haven't seen around the double game weeks or potential double game weeks. So obviously Spurs and Burnley was called off yesterday. The earliest they can play the double game week game will be in game week 21. That is only if Spurs lose to West Ham in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup. If that does happen and it is moved into that spot, Spurs would potentially have a double game against Watford and Burnley. So a very enticing one, but it does come right after 3 games inside a week, so it's going to be incredibly tough to pick the right players for that. And just finally, if you haven't seen it, the World Club Cup draw and dates have been confirmed, and it's looking like Chelsea are going to miss game weeks 24 and 25 due to this. And according to Ben Crellin, who was, of course, if you don't follow Ben Crellin, make sure you do. That they are most likely to move to either game weeks 21, 25, 26 or 29, but a few of them are obviously dependent on EFL Cup results and all this sort of thing. Chelsea have got Brentford, so you guess they would beat Brentford, which means 21 is out, which means it would be then after after the matches, after the Club World Cup. That second match apparently could potentially be played in the midweek of the same game week, so it could actually stay within game week 25. That's all we really know at the moment. Thank you, Ben, for your updates on that. And obviously, as things become a bit clearer, we will probably have a dedicated podcast and stream all around the double game weeks and strategy. But it's just good to have in the back of your head there. Sorry, Adam, completely dominating the chat here.
It's all right. No, go for it.
Looking at the fixtures, then, what is your current thinking in terms of this next period of matches?
To be honest, I've looked at potential planned moves, but I still think there's a lot up in the air that we don't know, and it's very difficult to make decisions on. Man United are a great example of this. Are we going to need Ronaldo? Is Ronaldo going to be a genuine captaincy option? Is he going to share minutes? So I'm interested to see the situation at United. Could there be other players like Sancho, Rashford, that could come to the forefront of our FPL thinking? I think City's fixtures are great, and the challenge with City hasn't changed. And I remember looking last season, the points were just so spread out. And if you look at it now, and this is just with the players that they've got, but you've obviously got Mahrez, Jesus, Sterling, Gundogan, Bilva, Bernardo Silva, Cancelo, who really contributed. And that excludes the likes of Grealish, Foden, Torres, another, any of the other, De Bruyne. I haven't even mentioned him. So I just think if you compare, and this hasn't changed my thought process for City. If you compare them with Liverpool, you can pretty much say the goals are going to be scored by Mana, Salah. Salah, who's he?
Mana and Salah.
I know my pronunciation is bad. This has gone to a next level. Mana and Salah, yeah. Okay. Oh, why do we have to do this live? We could have cut that out. The Liverpool front three: Jota, Mane, and Salah. Yeah. You know the goals are going to come from those three. But it's very rare that goals don't. But City, it's just so difficult to predict the lineup. And then even when you know the lineup, anybody can score. So that's why I think defensively for me is probably the way I'll go with City. I've got Cancelo at the moment. I possibly could add Diaz. Jesus probably stands out because he's a forward as well. So I think that gives him a little bit of an advantage. And then looking further down, to be honest, I don't think anybody fixture-wise, they all seem fairly similar. I think it's, I think you've got you've sort of got mixed fixture runs for a lot of teams. So I think it's about just picking the best players that suit what you need. And you've got to factor in rotation as well. Wow. So when you're looking at fixtures, you've got to think about, could they miss a game, etc. So yeah, it seems like the top teams at the moment: City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and then Man United, depending on what happens, is probably where I'd prioritise.
Okay, good question off Skinister in the chat. He says, thoughts on squad depth for the busy period. So what do you think about that? Obviously some of us went one or two deep. Obviously, I think a snow day is probably, it's a very, very rare occurrence. Apparently the last snow day hadn't been, I think I saw something like it hasn't been since like 2010 or something like that. In terms of just pure like volume of snow can't clear the pitch sort of thing. I'm not a massive advocate of it personally, because I tend to think, if you look this week as a prime example, the points that were coming off the bench, people having Livramento, Brownhill, okay, they are, very, very cheap in, in their sections, in their positions. But even so, I'm personally not a massive advocate. I've seen some questions this week, around maybe you should get like Brodger or Brocker, in that third spot just for safety, just so you get a point or two. But I suppose my question is, do you really want to be using transfers to get a point or two off your bench? For me, it's no. I'd rather save transfers and plow money into my 11 or 12 or 13, and just have zero off my third bench or even second bench at times. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's tough because we're coming off the season where we had COVID decimate our teams. So I think a strategy last season would have probably been more important to factor in squad depth and have 15, because there were a number of times where we went quite deep into our benches or fixtures were rearranged. We don't know what's going to happen, with this, I suppose, with this new variant. I don't think we will get any postponements to that, but we still don't know because we're coming into the winter season. So it could be that it does become a factor. I do agree with you though. One of the challenges, there are some very rich FPL managers in terms of squad value that can probably afford decent benches. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have, but you're going to just give yourself a selection headache every week. And sometimes it can make it inflexible to move on to players. So there could be new players coming into our FPL thinking, like Sancho, for example, where all of a sudden you want your money in midfield, but you've got a lot of your funds spread across your three slightly more expensive substitutes. I think in an ideal world, and it helps having three bench players that play in an ideal world, but so that you can almost rank your squad. So you're not going to give yourself a dilemma every week with who to play. So I think Livramento fits into that category. A lot have got a Brownhill, a Douglas Luiz, or that type of midfielder. And then, and maybe they might consider a third striker versus a third defender, fourth defender, depending on the fixtures. So I think as long as it's balanced, I think it's fine, but I wouldn't be taking hits or diversing massively from a transfer plan just to sort your third substitute spot, because the reality is, number one, you don't know when you'll need them. So how can you predict over a 10 game week period over Christmas, or it might be a little bit less, say 8 game week period over Christmas? How can you predict which week you're going to need your third on the bench? The reality is third on the bench, subject to no COVID out, or any issues like that. It's probably only going to be once or twice. You might go second deep. You might go once deep on a few occasions, but it's very rare that you go for your third on the bench. So I wouldn't be taking hits and all of that, because you don't know when you'll need them, because they could haul when you don't need them, as I often find out. Then when you do need them, it's the week they've missed a penalty or got sent off. So
that's the most frustrating thing I would find is I was just thinking then, because I can make a couple of moves and potentially move Keenan Davis, for example, up to Josh King, right? Because he's only like a million more. But it means then every week I would have someone like Livramento third on my bench, getting 6 points and 8 points and all this kind of stuff. And I just know it would do my head in every week, having to sort out my bench and hope that players don't haul that I actually own. I mean that in itself for me, I wouldn't enjoy it, and I think for me as well, the main reason I play FPL obviously is to enjoy it, and add a different sort of dimension onto the game. At the moment, I don't want players to haul who I don't own, but my kind of rivals own. To not want players who I've benched not to haul, even though I've got them, is just another dynamic I just do not fancy. It's not fun, is it? And it just adds that pressure and and all the bad stuff we mentioned last week around about not enjoying the game and having bad game weeks and benching points and all this stuff. So
well, I'm considering similar moves to you, but if I bring Josh King in, what I'll most likely do is put Damari Gray as like a 4.5 midfielder, who I'm happy to bench, who would be my third on the bench, and might even go for a Villa player. I'm thinking of Jacob Ramsey. Is
he 4.5?
Think so. I'd have to double check. I think he is.
He's actually decent, that isn't it? Because
he's good, and I'd just give me. He is playing well. I mean, he's not completely nailed. I don't think, particularly over Christmas, but I think he'll play the majority of games. So it gives me a little bit of Villa interest, and he could, you never know. He might get the odd goal or assist when I need him. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. But I agree with you. You don't want to spread your funds so you've got 15 playable players every week, because it just becomes a nightmare. I think even you've had challenges in the last couple of weeks where you've had Livramento and, speaking of Buemo, sort of your two cheaper players, and you've considered playing them, and you've talked about
bloody played them.
You bench but you bench Cancelo the one week, you've benched. Do you know what I mean? So
I know this.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not. So you've had those. You've had those challenges and those experiences,
and it's not fun because, like I say, when you've got 14 points stuck on your bench, okay, you can say that's my fault, right? But again, each FPL manager's playing style is different, and my style is to try and be, I wouldn't say aggressive each week, but I tend to favour attackers over defenders, is what I tend to do. You can't. I know that Rudiger had a good scoring record against Leicester, but at the end of the day, it was a header off a corner, and they're very rare. I think was it 4% of corners are scored. It's just like such a rarity.
Exactly, it's low figure. Yeah.
There's some really interesting thoughts on this in the chat. Man says, Adam, COVID has gone nowhere. We will have more players getting it. A strong bench makes sense. Guy Parfitt says, spoken like the true king of auto sub points. Cheers, Adam. And Nicola,
yeah, exactly.
And Nicola says, ESR, Livra and Brosher on the bench. Prefer a full bench over the next month or so. James Beacock, I've had Aidan as my third sub all through his injury. Never needed my third bench player. And James Harden, the more money you put into the bench, the less for your main team. You only ever want them for 2-point top-ups. Just put budget enablers in. Chris Woodruff, main advantage, of good bench is less pressure for transfers. So a really mixed bag there in terms of thoughts. And this is what makes FPL great as well, right? Because it's not only about optimizing your FPL team, it's how you, like, I prefer to take away as many decisions as I can each week. It's like this week, for example, I'm really enjoying this week so far, this really interim game week, because I haven't got that, who do I bench, who do I bring, oh god, what do I do, I'm 0.1 short, do I have to do the move tonight? I can't stand all that personally. I just want to be able to just move on to the game week, whereas like last week and the week before were a bit more really hard benching dilemmas, which I just don't enjoy personally.
I think one of the points, I can't remember who made it, but in terms of being able to make less transfers, I think that is valid, because I've seen a lot of people, who've struggled to use transfers maybe since their game week 8 wild card.
Yeah.
So I think that is a good point. But I think all I would say is I wouldn't go out of my way to take hits to move good players out of my team just to have a fully playing bench. And a 2-pointer is fine off the bench, because you're very rarely going to need them, and it saves you those benching headaches. So I think players that get 2-3 points, they're perfect bench players in my opinion.
Okay then, so let's look ahead to game week 40 specifically. So we've got the fixtures now on screen. While we're doing it, Adam, we may as well, as we talk through each of the games, what we think may happen, we may as well do the predictions.
Okay,
as we go through. Oh, you've prepared? I haven't. I do these on
a whim.
Do
you know what? I think I did all right last week on the predictions.
You did. I will update you in a moment. You did all right. Yeah. Maybe not as good as you thought. But
well, do you know what? But do you know why? Because the Chelsea Man United. So I rewatched the predictions bit on the pod, and I was going through, ticking them. Yeah, got that right. And then on Chelsea Man United, I go 1-1, and even surprised myself listening back to it. 1-1, what? I went 1-1, and then I changed my mind.
And went to 3-1
after I'd heard your prediction, I would change my mind. So
see, that's something you should never do as an FPL manager.
Never change
your mind after listening to a fool. Okay, so the two games first on the Tuesday, Newcastle and Norwich. Probably not much excitement, maybe from an FPL perspective. The only thing to say, someone in the chat earlier mentioned about Gilmore is very cheap, and to me, he's a kind of person maybe want to go down to in terms of he is a solid 2 points, who maybe has a very outside chance like an attack and return, but it's not someone you're going to miss every week benching, thinking, I wonder if he's going to haul this week. Newcastle have been disappointing, Adam. But what are your thoughts on this game?
I think I was listening to Talk Sport earlier, and they were talking about Newcastle, and I think the next two games are so important for their season, because after Norwich and Burnley, they then play Leicester, Man United, Man City, and Liverpool. I can't remember what order. So you wouldn't fancy much from that. So effectively, they could be going into the new year, if they lose these two, on what they're on at the moment, 6 points, which I think that's some task then to keep them up, even if you are, and who's going to want to join that? It'll just be players that want money. And then you question the motivation. Are they going to be the right people to get them out of a battle? So I think it's such a big game. And I think the first 20 minutes are key, because if Newcastle play well, they'll have the fans on the side. If they don't, it could be a case of that they get on their backs and actually become a bit of a hindrance to them. So I think it's tough. I think Newcastle have to win it, and I think they will. So I'm going to go for 2-1 to Newcastle.
Okay. Not much obviously from an FPL perspective. I tipped up Wilson a couple of game weeks ago, and he hasn't done an awful lot. He's still got these couple of matches now. Obviously, they've got Norwich and Burnley at home left in this this little run. And you quite rightly said at the time as well, but what happens after these 4 games, because their fixtures after that are not good. So you were right there, and so far they haven't done it. Steve Horan in the chat, FPL Fergi, great to see you live, and you too, Betty. Great to have you on. And just quickly while I'm on, this was a question of Copeland Garland, and I see this question so often in all fantasy formats. Is my rank is 14k at the moment. At what point do you start moving away from the template team in order to move further up the ranks? The answer to that, Copeland Garland, every single time is you don't need to move away from the template unless you think that the template is wrong. Just play your game. Just keep playing exactly as you've been playing, and if you've got the best players, you will continue to move up the ranks nice and slowly. If you go differential for the sake of it, you could end up ruining your season. Just want to get that in because I see it everywhere on all fantasy games. I had the same question earlier in the Sky Fantasy podcast. We're still just a third of the way through the season, right? There's a long way to go. Just play the game, and you will naturally rise. So for Newcastle and Norwich, I think Norwich have improved. They've only conceded 2 goals in the last 3 games. Newcastle haven't really looked good, even though Ramsdale made a fair few saves on the weekend. Again, I'm just going to go for a miserly 1-1 on that one. I think a bit of a non-event as an FPL event. Leeds and Palace. So obviously on this one we've got Rafinha, Gallagher on show. How do you think this game is going to play out, Adam?
This is the one I'm most confident about out of all of the predictions. So I'm going for 1-1.
Okay.
I think Leeds have been okay at home in the last few in terms of XG anyway. And Palace have got Anderson out. So I think Leeds, I don't think Bamford's back. So I think Leeds will score. But then I also think Palace have been okay away from home as well. I think they've obviously beat City recently. They've been scoring a few goals away from home. So I'm going to go for 1-1.
Okay. Yeah, from an FPL view, all Rafinha will probably play him. They've obviously got Palace in 14 and Brentford in 15. We can talk about maybe shifting him out after that. But I saw Bamford and Ayling were both back playing, or will be playing this week for the under 23s.
Under 23s, so yeah.
That could be interesting because obviously when he's back and Rafinha has a decent sort of playing partner up front, then we could see a bit more.
I think the unfortunate thing is for Rafinha owners is I think Bamford returning, because I don't think he'll play the weekend either, because I think they'll be quite cautious with the injury. So I think unfortunately when he returns, then the fixtures change. So they have those 4 tough fixtures in a row. So okay. Yeah, it's it's unfortunate that.
I'm going for Palace 2-1 win away to Leeds.
Okay.
I think it was a bit of a blip on the weekend. Southampton and Leicester, and a player who's caught my eye, as I'm sure he's caught your eye recently, seems to be a bit of a rejuvenated James Maddison. What are your thoughts? I think for me, he's always seemed to flatter deceive a little bit, but he is playing in that very advanced number 10 role at the moment. He's very involved as well and playing well. He's a confidence player. He did speak in the weekend as well, around having targets for he wants to score more goals and all this sort of stuff. Has he entered your mind at all as a potential option?
Not for my team, purely because I think his fixtures over a longer period aren't great. They're good for the next couple. But I mean, he's probably in the conversation if you've got Foden and people or somebody else that you're looking to shift in and around that price. I think he looked good the weekend. His stats have been okay for the last couple of weeks. He's getting goals and assists. So yeah, I think with Tielemans out, I think Maddison is a better option. I think with Tielemans with Tielemans in the side, I'm not sure that Rodgers has got the right formula to play them both, because what works quite well is he'll play Maddison in the 10 role off Vardy. It doesn't, for me anyway, and I'm not a Leicester fan, I don't watch them every week, but the dynamic's not quite as good with Tielemans in there. But Tielemans is far too good and arguably one of Leicester's best players. So yeah, it's I think he's an option, yeah.
And would you play Livramento this week, unless you obviously had to? Because home to Leicester is not an easy game.
I wouldn't play him. I would bench. I think I think he'll be first on my bench. So if he comes on, fine. I mean, you never know. He could get a goal, or and to be fair, Southampton have been fairly solid at home. I think off the top of my head, I think they've kept a few clean sheets. They kept one against Villa, against Leeds.
I can't believe they played. They started off with the formation. They started off against Liverpool on the weekend, and Hassan Tuchel said we shouldn't have done it. I mean, what a game to start to play. A three at the back. I don't really understand that.
Maybe, but he wanted to maybe try and stifle the front three and try something different, and
it did the opposite,
and actually get the three attackers in that could get him behind. And there were a few occasions they did do that. And I think the one thing that I think Liverpool have got, just going off on a tangent here, is I think Alisson is such a good goalkeeper.
He made some really good
every
saves,
time they give a big chance away, he never looks like conceding. I mean, facing him 1-on-1, or if you get like a chance 6 yards out, he seems to save everything. So yeah, I don't know. I've lost track of what we were
talking about Southampton versus Leicester, and you went off about Alisson.
So, yeah. Okay, so shall I give my prediction?
Yes,
then?
please. Yeah.
I've gone for 1-1.
1-1 Southampton Leicester. Yeah, it's probably all these games are really tight so far, aren't they?
Well, I think it'll be low scoring. I think Vardy by the press conference may be rested.
Yeah, he may be.
I think he will be, and I just don't see loads of goals in this game.
I fancy 1-1 as well. I think, yeah, I do. Watford and Chelsea. This is an interesting one because this is the game that a few Chelsea fans have potentially earmarked for where they think a couple of key players may get a bit of a rest. Just what's your take on Alonso on the weekend? He did nothing wrong, I don't think. Really, obviously the goal wasn't his fault, but he was brought off. But the thing which really kind of shook me, I suppose, was the fact that Reece James moved over to left back, and he actually looked quite dangerous because obviously on his right foot he was coming inside and bending balls in. Do you think that's a tactic which could potentially be deployed over the coming weeks, playing Reece James at left back instead of Alonso? Or do you think it was just a one-off?
Well, I think he wanted to get as many of his key attackers on the pitch. That's why I think that he made the substitution that he did, and obviously Alonso's been short of minutes recently. Yeah. But I think time will tell. I think Alonso will play matches over this period. Whether he'll play every week, I'm not sure. I think he could use. I've seen in some Chelsea chats the talk of Hudson-Odoi being played at left wing back, and that's been mentioned. That's come up a few too many times to be. So I think there might be something in that, because I think one of the challenges Chelsea face at the moment is that I think that wing back role is really a midfielder role, firstly. And I think the other challenge I face is they've had a lot of injuries, and Hudson-Odoi's played really well and looked good.
Fantastic, yeah.
So I think they'll want to keep him in the team, but then they've obviously now got Pulisic, Mount, Lukaku, Havertz, Ziyech. So I think there'll be loads of rotation with Chelsea because all of those players are, and that's without mentioning, Barkley's had minutes as well, hasn't he? So Loftus-Cheek. So I think that there will be, rotation for Chelsea, and I think it's difficult.
Suck it up, haven't you? I think.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to take the 1-pointers or the no-pointers and just be like, well, if your player had started, it would be likely that he would have done well, and just because he hasn't, then yeah.
I think that the risk with Reece James is he comes on a lot, and will anybody be brave enough to bench him versus Watford?
Bench him versus Watford.
You can't.
Madness. But I say that I do think that Watford could score against Chelsea. I think they will score against Chelsea. I personally think that Watford have shown, a really attacking verve in the last few weeks. I think they scored 6 in the last 2. They scored 4. They scored 5 against Everton a couple of weeks before that as well. They're scoring a lot of goals. I don't know if Sal will be back or not, but I fancy them to score. But
what's your prediction?
I think I'd probably go Watford. Do you know what? I'm gonna go 2-2 on that one.
Really?
Which may sound balmy, but I don't know. I think Watford
very different to my prediction.
Are you going for the Watford home win?
No. I think it'd be 3-0 Chelsea.
3-0 Chelsea.
I think.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think Leicester defensively were a bit all over the place versus Watford. So I think Chelsea look good. Other than that mistake from Jorginho, they were in control of that game against United, and they didn't really give them any chances, did they? So, and same versus Juve. So I think they've been looked in control. So I think they'll do exactly the same to Watford.
Okay, just a bit in the chat about the template, and CFC family, a couple of others have asked me what the template is, and basically the template are the highest owned players in each position. It's basically what the template is. So at the moment, both mine and Adam's team are probably not all template, but we've probably got, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 of the 15 of the template. But players like Smith Rowe will be in there, and part of the thing of trying to get away from the template is to try and identify which players are going to score well ahead of time, which you kind of try and do at the same time as holding the template. And this is what we mean every week around trying to kind of mitigate your red arrows, but trying to give yourself high upside for green, just trying to identify those players you think are going to go on the run next. Jota, for example, last week was a good one, because now obviously he scored the 2 goals. Everyone who hasn't got Jota, or most people, will try and jump on Jota as well, right? So that's the example last week of maybe trying to get ahead a little bit, but I do expect Jota to become template in the next.
Oh yeah, he will do. Particularly with AFCON as well. Can't see him not.
Peter O'Neill asks, who is winning in your black box inspired predictions league? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think black box do predictions as well, don't they? But I'm pretty sure that we're not the only football or fantasy football podcast to do score predictions. That the absolute radical idea. West Ham and Brighton. Sorry, I'm still holding on to bloody Antonio. Do you think this is the week that he finally, he finally manages to get some points, or no?
I don't know, because I think in a 3-game week, go playing Brighton, so playing Brighton after you've just been away to City is quite draining, I can imagine. And Brighton tend to have a lot of the ball as well. So I don't know. I've put it down as a 1-1. I don't think it'll be high scoring. And I think Brighton aren't conceding loads of chances at the moment. So I'm going to go 1-1. Antonio, I think Antonio might get a goal or assist.
James has just ruined my evening, because he said Brighton are West Ham's bogey team. For goodness sake, I was really hoping this was the week that West Ham would turn up.
I remember watching the game at the Amex, I think it was last season. I think it finished 1-1, but West Ham struggled to create anything. They really did. And I think I owned Antonio at the time. So, yeah, I think it'll be 1-1.
Alan H makes a really good point as well. Do you guys think Antonio is due a rest? Bowen started on the bench at the weekend, so is this a precursor to him starting up front? Antonio bench before Chelsea at the weekend. I think the only thing I'd say to that, so I think that Bowen was rested because West Ham were just trying to counter Man City more than anything, and Antonio was rested the week before in Europe. So I personally, I'm not so sure about that. I think it was a bit of a one-off starter lineup to try and get the better of City, which in all fairness, they very nearly did in the end. If City hadn't scored that second goal and West Ham had got that equaliser, it would have been a draw. But yeah, that's my personal opinion. My prediction for West Ham and Brighton, yeah, it's a tough one. I think I've got to agree with you on this one, Adam. 1-1, sad. It's a very sad state of affairs this week. So far, my prediction would be 1-1, 2-1, 1-1, 2-1, and 1-1. No clean sheets though, like the algorithm. Wolves and Burnley, again, maybe not not the most exciting Wolves and Burnley. Adam, what do you think about
that? I think Wolves will benefit playing Burnley because I think Westwood and Westwood and Tarkowski that are suspended?
Yes, they're suspended. They were for the Spurs game, but now it carries on to this game.
Yeah, so Wolves get that. Because originally I was thinking, I remember, was it last season that Burnley beat them 4-0 with a Chris Wood hat-trick? I was thinking, could they do the same again? Burnley, you never know what you're going to get. But I've predicted I've got a clean sheet here. I've gone for 1-0 to Wolves.
Not the most exciting game. Those who are holding on to Jimenez and Hwang, this might be their last hurrah, because in game week 15 they go Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, Chelsea. So this could be the last one. Hopefully gives them a last hurrah. I am going to go for again another low scoring kind of drab sort of affair. I wonder if this week is going to be a low scoring week.
I think it will.
I reckon for the competition this week, I think, and we'll do it later, so don't stick him in now. But I think let's go for the average game week score, which I think is going to be low this week, because I looked as
total
well.
Number of goals, maybe it might be easy.
Yes, I looked as well, and I think 9 out of my 11 players are playing away from home as well, which is normally a sign.
Yeah,
as well,
same. I've got a lot away from home. So.
Wolves and Burnley. I am going to go. I think the same as you. I can't believe I think the same as you as well. But yeah, I think
I put a lot of thought into my preparation today.
I think 1-0
I'm not going off the cuff, because I thought.
Villa and Man City. So this is where it all goes wrong for you, Adam.
Hang on. You say it all goes wrong. Let's just put it into context. I've predicted 2 wins for Villa, and I believe they have won both of their matches. I even got one correct score. So I've predicted 2 wins for Villa, and I think they're looking really good, I think, under Gerrard. I think maybe they could create more, but what I've noticed, it's all about moments in the match. So 3 of our 4 goals have come 80 minutes plus, so that they finished the game really strong, which I think is encouraging. I think the shape of the team is very good, and he's worked on that. The challenge is obviously he's only 2 weeks in, and he's coming up against an absolute master who's had however many years working with City. I think we're playing them at a good time. It doesn't look like Grealish is going to make it, so that's a bit bitter from my point of view, being at the game. I think Villa will give City a game. I think it'll be competitive. I think City will dominate possession, and I think they'll win 2-1. But I think Villa will score.
Yeah, I think Villa will score. I'm going to go for 3-1 on that one.
To Villa.
Not to Villa, no. I think that City will score 3 and Villa will score a consolation at the end, similar to West Ham did.
Trick for Watkins.
FPL Heaney says, you know you're obsessed with FPL when you have the Green Arrow podcast on your big screen TV in the living room. You're a legend, FPL Heaney, is what you are. You're not only obsessed with FPL, absolute legend. To have us gracing.
Not sure I'd want our ugly mugs on a big TV, though.
Well, No, it's probably fair. Let's hope the family and the pets are not, are not in the room. There may be some howling going on then. John L says, Adam, don't get too cocky. Man City will win easily.
No, I think it'll be 2. I think it'll be 2-1. I don't think they'll win easily. I think they've got too many players out, and I think Villa defensively, shape-wise, look good at the moment. So
Everton and Liverpool. First question, I suppose. I'm assuming your captain's on Salah.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
You've got Kane, haven't you?
No, I'm thinking of Jota, actually.
Are you really thinking of Jota?
Yeah. No, I'm not really. I'm going Salah. I just thought you've got to add a bit of excitement to the captaincy debate.
You did that. I was nearly excited as a FPL Heaney's family for a second.
I'll tell you what is interesting on Salah and Jota is that the stats per 90, he's now got a higher expected non-pen expected goal involvement. He's like quite a bit ahead of Salah, actually. So he's averaging over a goal over an attacking return, or an expected attacking return per 90. So I do like Jota, but yeah, you can't, with the consistency of Salah, you can't bet against him. I think Everton have had a lot of injury issues, and I think they've been going forward in particular. They've been really tepid, and they don't look like scoring. I mean, watching highlights against Brentford, like the last minute, Gray puts a really good ball across the 6-yard box. Yeah. There's just no one there, and I think that's actually it's hindered Damari Gray not having the likes of Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. So I think if they'd have had Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin, I think they'd have got something yesterday. So I think Liverpool are so far ahead of Everton. I think it might be 2-0 to Liverpool, but it could be more. It could just depend on. I think when Klopp might use it as an opportunity, particularly towards the end, to take off some of the the more important players. So I'm going to go 2-0.
Do you think that Trent is a viable captaincy option? Because if we think he's a clean sheet, he's outscored him in the last 2 games as well. EO aside now, obviously we're all on Salah because of EO. But EO aside, do you think that Trent could be a decent captaincy option this week?
Yeah, definitely. But I just personally do not like captaining defenders when there's good attackers, because I just think it's a ceiling as well. Now I'm saying I think it's 2-0, but it could be 3 or 4.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-0. I have.
Yeah, I just don't want to bet against Salah. I think Trent's is a good option, and he could easily get a 12-pointer again or whatever. So yeah, I think Salah all the way for me.
Helen Franks, Michael Ritchie, and Cathal McHale. Apologies, Cathal, if I've butchered your name, but they've all got us on the TV in the living room as well. Just so you know, Adam.
God,
we are beaming around the nation. And Tuhin Deb, it's 1:20 a.m. here in India. Cheers, guys, for the lovely timing. Apologies for that, Tuhin. Thank you so much for staying up to watch. We're nearly through the end now. Just 2 games left this game week 14. Spurs and Brentford. Interesting with Spurs. Do you think that Kane is, realistically a captaincy option this week or not?
No, not for me.
Okay.
I just think Salah and Liverpool are too good, and I think Spurs are a work in progress. So, no.
What do you think the score is going to be?
Although, score-wise,
you've got 8-0.
Yeah, no, I've gone 3-1.
3-1. Okay, I'm going for 2-1. I'm probably not as convinced as you after the showing last week against FC Mura, who are 5th in the Slovenian league.
Yeah, but I do think Brentford playing yesterday, they did look a little bit tired and leggy. So I think that'll play into Spurs. I think the postponement will play into Spurs' hands.
And United and Arsenal, finally, game week 14 match.
2-1 to United. I just think the fans will be really up for this game. And it's a night game at Old Trafford against. I think with the new manager in, I fancy United, but I think Arsenal score. So I go 2-1.
I'm going to go
I'm really interested. Go on, what is it?
I'll just say I'm going for a 1-0 United win. I think it'll be incredibly tight. And we'll have a Ronaldo 87th minute winner or something like that, personally. But, hopefully running through all those fixtures has helped everyone, helped some people potentially in terms of who to play and who not to play with their teams. Just to confirm what the algorithm's predictions are this week. Okay. Newcastle 1, Norwich 2, Leeds 1, Crystal Palace 1, Southampton 2, Leicester 1, Watford 1, Chelsea 4, West Ham 1, Brightford? I'm doing a U now. West Ham 1, yeah. Brighton 2, Wolves 2, Burnley 2, Villa 0, Man City 2. Apologies for that, Adam. Everton 1, Liverpool 3, Spurs 2, Brentford 1. Interestingly, the final one again, Man United 1, Arsenal 2. And this is just down to United's just awful recent form. But yeah. A couple of other places where we are on we're on the projector in the living room, in Gavino's living room. And John Lanigan says we're also on the outdoor TV in sunny Florida. Absolutely.
Outdoor TV. I'm like, what is he playing at?
It's absolutely brilliant. And Gavin Doyle, you'll have to excuse me, Gavin, where you're from. It's only coming up to 2 p.m. here. Pleasant 24 degrees outside. Guadalajara. Apologies. I've never heard that place before, Gavin. But hopefully you are enjoying. Just to touch briefly on Game Week 15, we're not going to go through all the fixtures at all by any stretch, but the key fixtures which stand out for me here in 15, probably United at home to Palace. If United do well, I think in Game Week 14, it's going to be interesting to see how they do, because obviously I think Palace without Anderson we mentioned this a few weeks ago. Remember we were talking about Guaita, and the whole keeper thing, and it was actually Luke Williams who talked me out of Guaita when he said that if Palace lose one of their defenders, they potentially may not be as strong. It's actually come to pass, as we can see in the last couple of games. Spurs and Norwich is also a really interesting one there in terms of those holding on to Kane and Son as well. Are there any of the games in these fixtures which stand out for you as important games for FPL?
I think West Ham and Chelsea will have quite a lot of interest in that one. And I think Chelsea did a number on West Ham a couple of times last season. I don't think West Ham scored actually from memory. So I think that could be good for those on double Chelsea defence, and not a great day for Antonio owners.
I'll be benching him that day, I think.
Yeah, I think. Just looking at the fixtures now, I think the interesting one will be who you captain. And I don't think we can, before game week 14, I don't think we can say conclusively, because there's possibility that Salah could get rested versus Wolves or Everton. I mean, I think historically, I'm pretty sure Klopp has always benched Salah for like one game in December.
It's normally a bit later, though, isn't it? It's normally a little bit later.
Yeah, it could be. You're absolutely right. It could be a little bit later, but I think he might. Who knows? He might do it. So I think it's possible. And I'd want to see something from Kane before a game from the armband v Norwich. And it's not the same Norwich team that under Daniel Farke. It's Dean Smith seems to. I mean, they concede, I think it's like 0.3 xG to Wolves, which is incredible defensive performance. Really, really strong defensive performance from Norwich. So, yeah, I think that game will be interesting. I'm just looking at the others now. I think probably the biggest one of interest to me out of all of those will be United Palace, because they'll obviously have their first game against Man United, but this is where we're starting to watch which assets we may be interested in for the following game week. So how's he going to set up? And it's just all speculation at the moment. I mean, we could guess so many different things. I've seen a few 4-2-2-2 formations, 4-3-2-1, etc., 4-2-3-1. We just don't know at this stage. It's pointless guessing. We might as well just get some information and then make an informed decision. But it could be, is it going to be Sancho, Rashford, Bruno, Ronaldo? Who's going to? Because I'm pretty sure when we next pod we'll be talking about a United attacker.
I think United
attack.
I think we will.
It's where we go, and I just think we're quite lucky in a way that probably got a couple of games to see what his starting lineup is, how he's going to set up. I think there's another Champions League game as well. So, yeah, I think for me, quite interested by that. That's the game probably of most interest.
I agree, and obviously United performed much better this week. I do wonder. I know United fans are going to give me a bit of stick now, but I think I don't know if Maguire is maybe a confidence player, but I just think Maguire is a calamity, and I think just if he's not there, if he's not there, I expect them to do better. But I'll no doubt take a bit of stick from that. I tell you what, I am taking stick for, mind, and it's probably fair enough. Is Guadalajara? It's in Mexico. Apparently, it's the second city in Mexico. I don't know why I haven't heard of this. I'm pretty alright at geography, but I never.
I'm just staying quiet. I don't want to dig any holes.
No, I'm sure. Gavin said it's the second city of Mexico, and I'm getting lots of Guadalajara. Apparently, it was home to Alvarez, the boxer. Also, Chicharito, who used to play for Man United as well. So apologies. Apparently, if you've watched Ted Lasso, which I'm hoping I pronounced that right. I've never watched Ted Lasso. Have you watched Ted Lasso, Adam?
No, I do want to watch it though. Looking forward to that.
I've never watched that, but yeah, apparently I'm getting a bit of stick for that, which is fair enough. James Hardin says Guadalajara is 2 miles down the road from Grimsby, I think, which very good, James. I like that. Very good indeed. That's probably the name of some kind of restaurant or something. Okay, let's move on now then. There's just a few talking points. We've talked about most of these in all fairness, but let's just try and answer some, quite specific questions we've seen on Twitter. Firstly, on Foden, right? So you don't hold Foden, Adam. I have Foden. I think what I'm going to do with him this week is I'm going to play him this week, and I think at the moment I've got Mbeumo potentially first on my bench. I've got Livramento as well. So if he doesn't play, fine, I've got a bench. But City's fixtures after this week are very, very good, and this is a kind of move I think if you move him, I've seen some in the chat, and they're all about Ted Lasso now, not Ted Lasso. I can't go. Anyway, just on Foden, I think he's the kind of player that, and we say this at the start of the season, we say it all season, right? He's the kind of player you just hold. And there's no point bringing him for a couple of weeks and getting rid, because he's going to haul either next week or the week after as well. So my plan at the moment for Foden is to hold. Now, a lot of people in the chat, a lot of people I've seen, on Twitter and everywhere else have been saying maybe Foden, we're doing it again, Foden to Gundogan or something along those lines. If you held Foden, Adam, what would your plan be for him at the moment?
I'll use your team as an example because I think it's different in each situation. So there'll be people that maybe have Foden but don't have Jota.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and depending on your team structure, I think, and how you set up, I think the answer is very, very different. So how you're set up, I think you've got a really strong midfield anyway. I'm not sure who you could sell him for that would massively improve that midfield. And it's only going to give you selection headaches anyway. So I think you've got the position you're in, you could easily roll a transfer and give him a little bit more time to get fit. And even if he does miss the Villa game, the game after that's Watford. And then I think they've got, is it Wolves after that? So they've got a really kind fixture run over Christmas. And I think you're right. He's the sort of player you could just leave in your 11, and there will be some 1-pointers in there, but he's the sort of player that can get a 16-pointer as well. And I think it'll be advantageous because a lot of people are ditching him at the moment. So you'll be able to benefit from his points. So if I was in your position, I would hold him. I think the time to sell him is if maybe you haven't got the squad depth and he's an injury doubt, I would consider moving him on. If you don't, I think if you don't own Jota, I think Jota's...
Go to Jota, like
100%. Yeah, exactly. And you haven't got another route to get him. So I think it's different per team. But in your situation, I think I'd give him a little bit more time.
Okay. What about Alonso? Because I was considering a hit for him this week. I was considering a hit for him as well for this coming game week in 15 as well. But I was just a little bit concerned about that early substitution, the fact that Reece James moved over onto that left hand side. I do think he's a massive upside player. I think he'll get plenty of starts, plenty of points, because he'll be my fifth defender. This is maybe why I'm probably not going to end up going for him. Again, you're right. It's the same with all these moves. It's team dependent, right? But if someone was looking at Alonso or maybe Rudiger, for example, so if someone had three and they were looking for a fourth, would you be tempted for Alonso? Because obviously me and you are already on 4, right? Would you be tempted to go for Alonso or someone else?
Yeah, I think there's high upside to Alonso, but I think he's a little bit overhyped at times in the FPL community, because when we were talking about Trent, and I think even when we're talking about Trent, James, and Cancelo, we're talking about arguably world-class players, and Chilwell was playing at a really high level. Alonso's not in that category at all, and if anything, I don't think he improves Chelsea, and I think he becomes a little bit of a problem for them at times. He does get into some good positions. He gets into some good goal scoring positions. Obviously, he had a lot of set pieces yesterday as well. But when I looked back at his stats, they weren't. Maybe I had higher expectations, maybe the nostalgia factor, but he's got in 133 Premier League appearances for Chelsea, he's got 37 attacking returns, which is good. but he's got, I think he's got 22 goals and 133. I was thinking it would be higher than that. And I look at the last couple of seasons, and I know he hasn't played that much, but he's got 1 goal this season, 2 last season, 4 the season before. So I think he is a good option. I think you should consider him, but I don't think he's, for me, James Cancelo and Trent are better options, because the one thing I'm not convinced about, I think Alonso will play, and I think for 5.6 million, I think he'll return value, because he'd probably be benched in the games that he doesn't come on. So even if he's playing 6 of the next 10, I think you'll get the value out of him. But I'm not convinced that he'll play all of them, because I think Chelsea will look at other solutions, because I think they'll have to. If Chilwell's out for the season, I don't think he's going to trust Alonso for the rest of the season. I think he might look at other solutions and trial them, and whether it's Hudson-Odoi or whoever, yeah, or Reece James even, and play it, or Aspilicueta there. Yeah, I'm not convinced, because I know he's well thought of in the FPL community. He's FPL gold, but he's not that great a player, is he? I just think he's a little bit out of his depth, personally. I think it is a big drop going from Alonso, from Chilwell to Alonso, based on performances this season. Is my opinion. So that's more the football side. Would I consider him? Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've got a choice of. I think it's between him and Rudiger, and I think probably Alonso's got higher upside, but I think Rudiger might play more of the matches, and he's got that. What I like about Rudiger at the moment is he's getting into some great positions. I mean, where he found himself with the last kick of the game yesterday, it was
wow.
I mean, that was like, if that had gone in, that would have been brilliant. If that had gone in, I'd have been like, So I think I'd probably would go for Alonso over Rudiger, but I just don't think there's much in it at all.
I'm tempted, and I know we talked about this last week, but it was more because of the price points. But I'm tempted to potentially get Alonso in a couple of game weeks. I think so. The next 2 are both away to Watford and West Ham, and I think that both those teams, personally, I think they will both score against Chelsea. However, their next 5 games after that, they're home to Leeds, home to Everton, away to Wolves, away to Villa, home to Brighton. And I think in that period of game, those 5 games, I think having those 3 defenders, because even if you get 2 out of the 3 playing and 1's benched, I don't think it matters. I think you're getting upside there on a lot of other people, because a lot will only have 1 playing, whereas you'll have 2. After that, though, it probably is worth mentioning. Obviously, Mendy goes off to AFCON.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But the next 3 games after that are Liverpool, Man City, and Spurs, and then it's the international break, and then after that, Chelsea don't have a couple of games. So this is where it gets interesting, into where these extra fixtures land, because this is the only reason I'm tempted not to go for Alonso, or maybe even go Rudiger to Alonso potentially.
See, I think that's a better move than going for the triple up, because I think of the flexibility, and when you come into, obviously you mentioned about Mendy going, I think that will impact Chelsea. I think when you've got 3 that you might have to move all of them out for the blank fixtures.
I just think it's the blank fixtures thing for me is quite big as well. But I do think these next 5 games, if we look at the 5 games they've just had, which we all earmarked, game week 7 to game week 11, they were fantastic, and they all smashed it. I can see them doing the same again. I don't think it really matters if 1 or 2 of them even don't start each game week, because every team is going to have rotation. So I am tempted. I'm more tempted than I was last week, but more because at the moment he's 5.6. He'd probably be maybe 5.7 by the time I want to get to him potentially. But as always happens, we'll have more information, right? It could be that in 2 game weeks time he hasn't played either, and I'm nowhere near. I don't want to get him. We just don't know, do we? So.
But I think that's it. I think it'll be interesting how they set up in the next couple of games. If he plays both and he gets in the positions he's capable of doing, then it might be an obvious move for us to do from Rudiger to Alonso. It might become a no-brainer.
So we've touched on Man United, so we'll leave them. But just finally on Spurs, then these next two fixtures are ones we've been waiting for all season, right? They're the home to Brentford, home to Norwich. You said that you think that Spurs are going to beat Brentford probably reasonably comfortably. What do you think about that Norwich game? Because Norwich have improved. They've definitely improved. Do you think it's going to be a similar sort of score or not? And we'll move on to captaincy next, but.
I don't know. I think I'll reserve judgment to after watching them against Brentford, because Conte would then have had some time to work with his first team. So I think, I'm hoping that we'll see big improvements against Brentford, because he's had time to work with them a little bit longer. When he came initially, it was the international break, wasn't it? And he didn't get loads of time. So I'm hopeful that we'll see big improvements. But I think if this is where I think the game week 14 is pretty key. If they do win 3-1 and Kane looks good and gets a goal and assist or a brace,
exactly, massive
there, and and Newcastle do beat Norwich and look more like Norwich look more like their old selves, then we could be having a different conversation about the captaincy.
Absolutely.
But from what I know at the moment, it's not moving off Salah. And actually, what I do think is, and this is probably more relevant for the next pod, is let's assume that Spurs scrape by, etc., and everyone's perma captaining Salah up to game week 16. Do we then, looking at Liverpool's fixtures 16 to 20, I think other than maybe playing Spurs, they're really good. So does it then become a case of we don't need Cristiano Ronaldo?
Exactly.
We just Salah? And I think that's possible. I really do. Or it could even be we're captaining Jota because, at some point when as well, when we think Salah could get rested, because we say that there's usually one game week. So it could just be we trust Liverpool.
And and these run of United fixtures that we're talking about between game week 16 to 20, they're all the games over Christmas, right? Which is where they play five games in however many days and stuff. Ronaldo is a machine. He's he's fantastically fit, but he is 37. And if you couple that with Rangnick, who likes to play this high pressing game, he will know they'll have to make some kind of exceptions for Ronaldo. But I completely agree with you, and we've been saying this for a few weeks, and this is why I never went down the Kane route to get to Ronaldo, is because I'm actually hoping that Salah stays as permacap. And I know that sounds a lot of it sounds very boring to a lot of players, but to me, I don't really like spending a lot of money on a player I'm not going to captain. So that's kind of the reason I went for Son. So I'm personally hoping that I'm a Spurs fan, right? So I'm gonna look at this with two completely different hats on. I hope Spurs really improve, and I hope they batter Brentford and Norwich from a fan view, but purely from an FPL view, I hope it stays nice and quiet. I hope we can just idle through, and then I can maybe potentially move down Son to someone and look to bring in someone like Sancho, for example, maybe, or Rashford, or double up on a City midfield or something along those lines. I don't really like having all my money on players not going to captain. So that Salah perma-cap you mentioned over Christmas, having Jota as well. If Firmino is out still, then Jota. If we get word, if Klopp says I'm resting Salah on Saturday, Jota becomes just as good as captaincy option, right? Because his XG per million, this XG per million, that's not even a stat, is it? I can't think of the stat, but
XG per 90,
XG per 90 is now the highest over Salah's for this season for his price point, which is so he's there, he's there in his own right. So anyone doubting Jota, I'd get on him anyway. And saying that, just as we say, we're not sure Ronaldo, he has just won the Ballon d'Or for being the best football player on the planet. So there we go.
Ronaldo's just won the Ballon d'Or.
Apparently, that's what Relic Returns and Bubbles have just said in the chat.
No way. I thought got to go to Lewandowski, surely. And then there was talk of Messi, or it been said that Messi had already won it, but
there we go. Apparently, it's gone to Ronaldo. John L. Adam is entitled to his opinion, as we all are. I think Rudiger will outscore Alonso this season. If you don't catch Alonso right with transfers, he won't be a reliable option. Plus, he's an awful defender. So that's just a final word there on Alonso. Finally, on this section now, we've just got the predicted points for the next 4 game weeks just to bring up. You can... Guy Parvis says, no, he didn't, Fergie. Apparently, they're having a bit of a laugh, maybe. Anyway, let me... Oh, my God, they've done me an absolute clipper in the chat, haven't they? They've done me a clipper. He hasn't, apparently. He hasn't won the Ballon d'Or. Thank you so much, everyone, for making me sound like even more an absolute prat. Tom Stevenson, that cannot be true. Bait. He hasn't.
Yeah.
Lol. There we are.
I was going to say, it couldn't be right.
So just to touch on the predicted points for the next 5 games. So this period we're talking about, these 5 game weeks in the next kind of 19 days. Salah is top, 37 points. Kane and Son are both in there, 34 and 30. Mane, 30. Underrated, undervalued Mane, still there scoring points most weeks. Again, he was unlucky not to score on the weekend, I thought, with his, his slightly offside header. Foden is up there still. This is one of the reasons why I'm keeping him in, because the Fantasy Football Hub points predictor says Foden is going to score 30 points on the next 5 game weeks. Alonso is up there, Adam, 30 points too. Vardy, Trent, Cancelo, Fernandes, James, Lukaku, Ronaldo, Jota, Rudiger. So a lot of players we just mentioned, all in there, all to score 25 points plus. John Hell, Ronaldo has won the golden egg, I believe, and they're all go. Look at this, they're all in the chat now, all giving me heart. I just read out what someone said in the chat. Ali Mack says Joe Linton, barn door winner. Very good, Ali. But yeah, you can get these predictions for yourself at any range you want at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Top link below, and check these all out for yourself. We've had a couple of questions, so let's move on to these quickly. I think we've answered a lot of them actually, but Billy Hush, the Chilwell Hole, Ashley Young, he's 36, rotation threat. He's in good shape on Saturday. He was an out of position 4.7 million defender on set pieces. Adam, what are your thoughts?
I think he's an option. Will he keep his place? I think potentially he played well the weekend, and by all accounts he's really impressed in training. What's the chat saying now? Davis for the Ballon d'Or.
He just said Harry Maguire just won the Ballon d'Or.
Keenan Davis
is obviously going to win.
Traore in second place.
Absolute swines. I can't believe I've been. Anyway, mate, just apologies. On to Ashley Young.
I think he's an option. He's Gerrard thinks of him highly. I mean, Gerrard actually played with him in England, and his running stats are absolutely incredible for his age. So he sort of suits Gerrard's style. He's got a couple of assists, back-to-back assists, I think. So yeah, I think he's an option. But let's just wait and see, because we're only 2 matches into Gerrard's reign, so one to watch.
From game week 17 onwards, they go on a very nice, pretty long stretch of fixtures as well. Norwich, Burnley, they don't have Chelsea. Okay, you can bench him for that one. Leeds, Brentford, United, Everton, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, Southampton. So a really, really good run there. Just quickly, Adam, I've had a fleeting eye on Ollie Watkins. Do you think in that period he could be worth investing?
I think a few Villa players will be. He likes Watkins as well. I think just wait and see the next few game weeks to see how we do. But I think defensively, that we look a lot more solid. So there could be options there. Yeah. I think I think Watkins, definitely it will be an option. And I also think John McGinn could be, because a lot of people are looking in that sort of 5.5, 6 million midfielder to compete with the likes of Smith Rowe and Gallagher and Buemo, etc. What I've noticed with McGinn, where he looks really good. So when most of the season and under Dean Smith last season, he played as one of the two alongside Douglas Luiz. Where he's better is when he can go box to box and he's as part of a three. He's so much better and more influential on the game. And he's done that at times this season, and he's just looked brilliant. I remember watching him in the Wolves game where I think he scored and got an assist in that game. Where he was just unplayable in a 3 box to box. He tends to play more attacking for Scotland, and the quality of his finishing, particularly in and around the box, he's got a great shot on him. So I think, I'm not saying he's going to get 10 goals and 10 assists this season, but I think in the last few seasons, I think he's ended up with 3 goals and 3 assists, and the season before that he got 3 goals and 5 assists. He's already on 3 goals with 1 assist, and I think I could see him finishing the season on maybe 7 or 8 goals. So I think he'll play every week. He's a 90-minute man. He does love a tackle, so he'll get the odd yellow card, but I think he could be an option at some point.
Michael Ritchie has just asked if you will do the John McGinn celebration for everyone watching us on YouTube. The old I can't do it. My arms.
No, I can't do it.
Come on, Adam. You can't.
No.
We'll have it off you next week. I'll try and I don't know if I can do it. Anyway,
but I do love John McGinn. He's a great guy. I actually met him when was it? It was the League Cup final, and he must have spent about, because he was injured, so he wasn't playing. It was when he was out for quite a bit that season. But he must have spent probably about 10 minutes talking with us and some of the other fans. But absolutely great guy. And you can tell he's a laugh as well. So he would be somebody that I think, from an enjoyment factor, I hope to own him at some point this season. So if he can keep performing as he is, he'll be somebody I'm keeping an eye on.
I think the Villa, that if they can keep up their level, intensity and performance, I think that they'll have some really interesting options. Just a couple of questions we've had off Fish. We've answered most of them. He's just asked a question. He'd asked around avoiding FPL transfer rage in response to bad luck. Fish, go back to last week's. We spent about an hour talking about it last week. And he asked a question about how do you handle mini league rivals? My main one just overtook me, and he has Jota and Rudiger, 2 players I want in, so he's ahead of the game versus me. Just play the game, Fish. I wouldn't be even looking at your rivals. If your overall rank is high, you'll very likely beat them. So I wouldn't be making moves. I wouldn't be looking at your rivals. Don't let them dictate your moves. Anything to add there, Adam?
I think you're spot on. I think everyone's starting from a different position, and I think sometimes we can get obsessed with looking for a differential or trying to do something different. I think you got to make the best decisions from where you're starting from for your team. So I won't worry about your mini league rival. It's still 2/3 of the season. You've got plenty of time to catch them up, and I really, hopefully you will do.
You will do. Listen to us every week and play sensibly, and you'll be fine.
They're just very quickly on the rage transfer thing. It's always 90% of the time, it's always a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think if there is a player, so I think somebody maybe like Diogo Jota would be an example here, where I could see, if you watched his performance on Saturday, that's got rage transfer written all over it. Unless he's rising on price, I would do what I would personally do, because it could be, and with the game week so close as well, I think that's an example where you can make a transfer on the same day. But I think what I would do is, before you'd make the transfer, step away, get a cool head, go and do something you enjoy doing. Don't think about it, and then when you've calmed down, make the decision, because it's rage transfers on the whole often cause more issues than they do good. So I think you've got to be in the right frame of mind to make the transfer still. But yeah, I think I think anyone that watched Jota the weekend, he looks great at the moment.
Agree. I also just think, on 50-50 sort of transfers as well. I was thinking this earlier. I've never really got round to articulating in a way where I really think I get it right enough. So, in terms of articulating the importance of potentially not going for something if you're not sure. But I think just then I had a bit of a little bit of a spark of inspiration. if you're 50-50 on something and you're really, really not sure, in terms of a transfer, I mean now, in terms of a transfer, and obviously some will work and some won't, right? And that's just the way of the game. You can never predict. But the positive about not doing the transfer is that you've got your transfer in hand still for the following week. And I know this may sound obvious, but if you do the transfer, and bear in mind, I'm talking about proper 50-50, if you're really, really stuck on what to do, if you go ahead with it and you don't land on the right side of variance, which is more often than not the case, you've not only made the move, but you've also used the transfer, right? If you don't make the transfer in your 50-50 and you don't land on the right side of variance, you have got the benefit of the extra transfer still. And I know it makes something like the most completely obvious thing in the world, but I'm trying to highlight the benefit, which may actually bring the scales down on the side of don't make the move if you're 50-50. I know this is not specifically around to range transfers, but
it's hard because it comes down to circumstances. Is the move for a hit? Which players you're talking about? So there's a lot of things to factor in. I think you're absolutely right. There is value for having that free transfer, and I know the statisticians out there will be able to qualify. I've seen people mention it's maybe worth 2 points, but yeah, but
it's funny.
I think there's some value there. But I think the other thing is that you've got to factor in is that could you what would you game in terms of team value? Because that it could be, if you're going to bring them in, you could end up paying 0.3 more. It's a factor to consider. I'm not saying that that's something that I would necessarily do. And then you've also got what points gain are they going to get for you in that week? So if they've got an incredibly good fixture, it could be a natural entry point. So yeah, it's tough. I think that's what a lot of people do with Spurs assets. They went for the Leeds fixture because they felt it was a good entry point. Hindsight, you'd have waited a week, you may not have been so keen to go there.
And that's the point.
Which
I was just going to make is how often do you actually then change your mind the following week on the transfer you want to make? It's very often, and it is. It's like it's very rare you don't make a move. Like Jota this week is probably an example of something where it would have paid off, and you would have got ahead of the curve, and it would have. But for every one of these, there's one which happens the kind of other way, right? And it's funny, you're so set on a transfer, you're so set on it, and then something will happen, and then actually, if you say you transfer back, it's very rare you actually go through with the transfer the following week. Always another opportunity often opens up.
So an example of this would be, like a lot of people, I did Vardy to Kane last week, and if I'd have waited a week and having watched the Leeds game, I may not have been so keen to do the move, particularly with Vardy playing Watford. So yeah, what you're saying does have some merit, definitely.
Okay, let's just quickly in the chat. Alan H. Fergie needs to do a Fleetwood Mac cover of "Go Your Own Way" with "Play Your Own Game." Indeed, you can go your own way. Not bad. And Bummo has just won the Super Bowl according to Relic Returns. Thank you so much. Excellent.
I love that.
Yeah, class. Game week 14. Captaincy. We did a poll earlier on Fantasy Football Hub at FFH_HQ. If you don't follow, make sure you do. Salah, 67% of the vote. Next,
was that it?
Yeah. Next was Kane, 14%. Salah, 9.6%. And Reece James, 8.9%. Also some other shouts in there. But Salah, is very, very likely to be, have a really high EO. His EO this week was something like 198% in the top 100k or something ridiculous like that. Absolutely crazy numbers. And while the game is like this, you just have to roll with it, which personally suits me. But, again, it takes a decision out of my hands. It doesn't really matter what he does, whether he blanks or gets a hat trick. It doesn't really matter, which I prefer. In terms of captaincy this week, Adam, what are your thoughts? Obviously, it will be on Salah, but do you think there are actually any other real alternatives?
Nah, not really. I just think Liverpool are so good at the moment from an attacking point of view. I think the alternatives for me would sit within Liverpool. That's what I'd say. Potentially Jota. You mentioned Trent earlier. I just think they're so good at the moment, and you've got the great thing about Liverpool, and this is why they're my favourite FPL team, is they get loads of points, but you know who's going to get the points almost certainly.
You kind of do, don't you? Yeah, you're right.
It's just great. They're just so opposite in a way to, if you look at the attacking options for City and Chelsea, I don't really think Spurs are in the elite category. Even when you look at Man United this season, it's been fairly spread. So Arsenal as well, fairly. There's no obvious talisman this season. So I just I think could you look at Jota? I don't think enough people own Mane to put him in the conversation, but I think Jota, Mane are alternatives. Trent. Salah's been so consistent though that it's hard to make a strong argument to back against him, because I think he'll get. Yeah, I think Jota or Mane are possibles, but yeah, I'm not going to do it. So
isn't it amazing that Kane is 14% of the vote, and he scored, was it 1 league goal this season?
Yeah, he's got 1 attack in return, and Salah's blanked. Salah's he's returned in 1 game. Salah's blanked in 1 game. So that's absolutely mental. And even in the game he blanked, I'm pretty sure he had a very close offside ruled out against Burnley. So he's just, the consistency is just another.
I think even an assist and a clean sheet point is still a return, isn't it? It's still decent.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing, that's what I was going to say about Salah, that I think is his creativity this season is equal to his goal threat, and he's just playing so well. He's making so many right decisions in the final. I think that's maybe the thing that's improved with him this year. Actually, is his decision making has been very, very good. He's not been, I don't think there are occasions when maybe he was a little bit selfish at times. I don't think selfish is the wrong word, but I think the amount of times where he's put balls across the box, he's made that pass with the outside of his foot. He seems equally happy to score an assist this season, and he's been an absolute. For me, I felt this is probably in previous seasons, maybe not his first season, but the last couple in between, I felt that he's done well, but he's been capable of more, and I felt sometimes his end product, and particularly with when he could pass it. In the fight, or that final decision has been what's the has been the big difference between him being absolute world class and talking about the same level as Messi, Ronaldo. And I think the way he is playing at the moment, he's doing that. He's making so many good decisions that I think he's definitely world class, and he's definitely one of if not the best player in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree, and you can see it as well in his bonus points. Because if you remember, a couple of seasons ago, he used to not get any bonus points because of his wild shots. So his finishing is definitely finished, but as you say, his decision making is instead of going for a wild shot, maybe he is squaring it across the 6-yard box and things like that. Which is helping that. But you can definitely see it. There were times a couple of seasons ago, I think there was even one time where he had a double attack and return. I think it was a goal and assist. He still didn't end up in the bonus because he missed so many chances. And his finish
he's sort of on the edge, isn't he? He's either going to get a hat trick or just no bonus. So.
We're just going to have a very brief look at Game Week 15 captaincy. I put a poll out. We will put a poll out towards the end of the week as well, obviously, once the games have been played, because as we all know, we're all a fickle bunch, right, in terms of in terms of what happens. But Salah for next week is also top of the polls so far, 53%. But Kane is up to 31, with Cancelo and Ronaldo just 8 and 7. So it's a bit more of a 2-horse race next week, even though Salah is by far the favourite. Kane, by the way, in the Hub Point Predictor, is predicted to top score in both Game Week 14 and 15. But, Salah away to Wolves, Kane at home to Norwich. I think away to Wolves could be a tough game, even though, again, just looking at the form, maybe if we get any hint that potentially that Salah could be rested on the weekend, maybe go for a Spurs player. But at the moment, as it stands now, Adam, obviously, there's a full game week to play. Will he be on Salah on the weekend?
As things stand, yes, but I think the thing that will change my mind, it won't necessarily be Liverpool. I know what I'm getting from Liverpool. And Wolves at home have been fairly solid defensively, so I don't think they'll get thrashed. But if it will be a case of if Kane looks on it versus Brentford, and you can see Conte, what he's trying to do is coming together. And also, Norwich look a little bit more vulnerable than they did because they defensively were exceptional the weekend, and they've looked good under Smith. I think they've not looked like conceding every two. They're very different to the team that lost 7-0 versus Chelsea. So, yeah, it's those factors I'm interested in. I think game week 16 is a game week where a lot of 16 or 50 is where a lot of people have plotted to captain Kane, and I'll give him every opportunity. If he looks good versus, even if he only scores once, but it's getting a lot of chances and looking sharp, I'd be tempted to give him the armbangs. I think the ceiling is probably higher at home to Norwich versus away from Wolves, but there's a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes in there at the moment. So,
of course, there is indeed. Okay, Adam, we now have your team up for game week 14. Just want to run through your players and tell us your plans for the coming game week.
Okay, let's have a look. So my team has got Sanchez in goal. I've got no other choice but to play him. So it's either him or Steele. So I've got Trent, James, Rudiger, Cancelo. I'm not going to bench any of those. Salah captain, Conor Gallagher, Jota, Rafinha, and then Tony and Kane up front. And then on the bench, Livramento, Gray, and then Scarlett. So I can't see a transfer. I can't see a transfer that I want to make. I mean, you possibly could do Alonso in for Rudiger. I look at all my midfield. I'm happy with the fixtures. Yeah, there's no move I can see at the moment. So I'm going to save a transfer, which I think it might be the first time I've saved a transfer since I've wildcarded, which will be great. What someone said in the chat.
Oh no! I was thinking the same thing as you. That's all. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've saved a transfer all season either.
I'm jealous. Don't you see everyone on Twitter? Oh, I'm rolling my transfer for the third week running.
I'm taking a -8, mate.
Yeah, it's so painful having these 2 free transfers and all this. Yeah, I haven't. So subject to any last minute team news, I'll roll a transfer, and then it's sort of watching Man United. I mean, high on my watch list. I like Josh King.
Yeah, same.
So he's somebody that I do want to bring in and maybe go 3-4-3 because I'm not sure which other midfielder within my structure I would look to, and it gives me then the opportunity to choose between King, Tony, and Rudiger and Gallagher as the one I start, and it gives me a bit more depth. So that's the plan at the moment, but obviously it could change.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think you're spot on there, Adam, and not much different from my plans, even though our team's a bit different. So I've got Sanchez, Trent, James, Cancelo, and Rudiger, Jota, and Salah captain. I've got Foden and Son, so I've got Son instead of Kane, but I'm kind of happy with that, in all honesty. I'm happy with Foden because I think a lot of people sold last week. I think a lot of people will sell this week as well. But like I say, he is the kind of player just turn up and bang in the points. So I'm quite happy to hold him there. I've got Antonio and Tony at the moment, and my bench is Mbomo and Livramento. My watch list, definitely King. I've just had a quick look at the fixtures, and Brentford actually play Watford in game week 16, so it'll be kind of Tony versus King. So I may not want to do it last week because obviously Watford's, even though their attack is doing well, their defense is not great. So I may hold Tony for that one and move the week after. I really want to hold on to Antonio. I've held him all this bloody time. From game week 18, their fixtures are really, really good. So I may just hold him.
He'll put his hamstring ready in game week 15.
Can you imagine? This is the thing
against Chelsea. Imagine that. Yeah.
I really want Alonso. As I've said, I can't get to him. I think if I could get to Alonso for free this week, I'd be tempted, but I can't. Gallagher is.
Can you not do really good to Alonso?
I don't want to do that. I think you're asking for trouble there, personally. Rudiger, as you mentioned, in his own right, is looking very, very threatening himself, and he's nailed as well. So I'm quite happy at the moment. Gallagher is a person I'm looking at. So something I might do in game week 16 potentially. If Spurs still look poo, I may do something like Son to Gallagher, which frees up a load of cash to enable me, to look at, potentially a United midfielder. Maybe I can upgrade Keenan Davis to King, for example, or whatever it is. But I've got very, very loose plans, but I don't feel that I need to execute any this week. I think I've got a good team for this week, a solid team, and then I think the true, move in time is going to be game week 15 or 16 for either United and Watford, that kind of time at the moment. So yeah, I'll be saving as well, which I think is probably the first time, as you say, this season, Adam. But I also think holding transfers back this time of year now is quite important, because things are going to change. We know how things change game week to game week. We're going to have 5 game weeks, like I say, in the next 19 days or 20 days or whatever it is, and the landscape for FPL will just change massively. And if you can hold a transfer back and then potentially even do a -4 for 3 moves, just as an example, you can completely transform the whole look and feel of your team, right? So who knows, right? We may look at United against Arsenal and Palace, and and suddenly they're uber tight at the back, and Luke Shaw is making darting runs in the box and all this kind of stuff. You never know what might happen, right? So yeah, I think it's sensible, unless you've got any urgent moves. In terms of players, if you don't own them, I personally think Trent, James, Cancelo, Salah, and Jota are probably players. If you don't have those 5 players in your team, I would probably look to get them in as a priority. But other than that, I don't think there's anyone else who you would class as really should have in your team. We have teamed up with FanTeam once again to bring you a fantastic offer and a chance to play FPL for big money for absolutely free. So this is free entry for everyone. FanTeam's second half competition is live now, in terms of it's open, but the game will be going live from game week 22. It's completely free to enter, but has a £100,000 prize pool with a £20,000 first place prize. To enter for absolutely free, click the link in the description below and you can register, draft a team and secure your place. You can make unlimited changes right up until game week 22. Both Adam and I will be playing, and hub contributor Holly Shand has published a video on this channel. I think it was published last week, detailing the rules, scoring, much more. But it's basically FPL, but you can win a lot of money. So go and take a look at that. We will definitely be playing that. Competition time. No winner last week. James Madison. There was someone in the chat earlier actually mentioned around they were a point off, because I think they went for Van Dijk. And Madison pipped him, so no winner for the mug this week. It does say on screen, but please ignore this, will be the top point scorer. What we're going to do for this game is something a little bit different, and as Adam mentioned earlier, predict the number of goals you think will be scored in game week 14. I don't know if you, Adam, but I think there's going to be a lot of tight games, and I don't think there's going to be loads of goals. So I think it's going to be quite low. What do you think, Adam, in terms of number of goals for the game week?
Well, I've added up my predictions.
Oh,
so I thought that's probably.
You're on fire.
I thought that's the most consistent way of doing it, and it does go with quite a low scoring game week. So it's 25, so 2.5 goals per game.
Mine's 25 as well.
Oh, there you go. So, so yeah, I'm going with 25.
Okay, so let's get in those predictions. How many goals do you think are going to be scored in game week 14? Let's take a look at the top of the @FFH_ Green Arrow Mini League. 10th place, Preston Retzlaff. 9th, Ahmed El Gawit. 8th, Alexander Von Sivers. 7, Shane Lindley. 6th, Steve Sedman. 5th, Charlie Vant. 4th, Richard Sopf. 3, Torhey Hegner. 2nd, Joe Widowson. And top, Harry Jones, who had a game week score of 73. And is currently 9th overall in FPL. So very, very well played, Harry Jones. And again, once again, apologies for probably butchering all those names there. I'm not sure if some of them enter these names just to get me to read out names that I'm crap at pronouncing. But yeah, very, very well played to everyone there. Make sure if you're not already in our mini league that you do join. Our mini league code is QDASZ2, and it will be a Fantasy Football Hub goodie bag prize and free premium membership for first place. So QDASZ2. I'm just going to pop that now in the chat for those who are on YouTube. I'll just pop that now in the chat. And YouTube watchers can also join using the auto join link in the description below. So that is it from us for this week, Adam. A bit of a different one this week. We did spend a bit of time on predictions. We did have a comment actually in the chat that we spend a bit too much time, about 30 minutes, but we can't please everyone. But a bit of a different one this time out. We didn't have time to prepare a lot of different stuff. We'll be back next week as usual with all the same old stuff and another macro topic. Next week we're back to normal. Adam, thank you so much as usual for joining me this evening. Where can people get hold of you?
Well, you'll be able to find me at Villa Park on Wednesday if anyone wants to buy me a drink.
Oh, you're going to Villa Park against Man City?
Yeah. Oof. So looking forward. I think it'll be freezing. It's an 8:15 kickoff as well, which seems quite late. But yeah, I'm taking my father-in-law. He's a Man City fan, so
wow,
I've taken him I take him pretty much every year, and he's had a good time, and I've not had such a good time. So that's how it tends to work out. So yeah, but you can find me on Twitter @Hopcroft13,
and my Twitter handle is @FFH_Fergi. So this podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you liked what you watched, please press the like button. If you haven't pressed like, just press like. It would be so much appreciated. It really, really does help us. And remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok are @FFH_HQ, and our podcast Twitter handle is @FFH_Green Arrow. Make sure you drop us a follow. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, points prediction tools, and much, much more. To win the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers and sign up to the Hub, choose our amazing resources, just click the top link in the description below. You will not regret it. Thank you so much for everyone, all the comments on the chat saying how much you enjoyed it. Really, really glad you did. We will be back next week previewing Game Week 16. Stay safe, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.